everyone. Welcome back to the Journey of You JoyCast. Today, Devin and I are here to bring you a very special holiday episode.
Totally. Yeah, it's not lost upon us at this time of year. It can be, I mean, hello, look at her awesome sweater if you can see this visually. It's a time of year that we can really get lost in the hustle and bustle of life, right? And get into things. And so we want to revisit our very first episode that we ever recorded, and that episode is called Why? Because it's critical to know your why. And as we come into the holidays, we want to bring you back to your why because as we go into the new year, we want to capitalize on your why. We want to bring your why to life.
Mm, yeah, and what I found, it's such a great time this time of year to slow down, to
Hmm.
actually soak up every moment that we have with the people in our lives and what we are creating, what we have created.
Yeah.
And,
And with
and
the solstice too, right? So winter solstice happening just a few days before Christmas is that solstice is all about coming inward within yourself and balancing the light and dark in yourself, right? And so that's that slow down of winter solstice. If you're in the northern hemisphere and y'all in the south hemisphere, you're all in the light right now. But
China.
there's right? There's never a bad time to be connected to your why and to come inward. And so we're going to revisit episode 1 and we're celebrating our full year this year of the JoyCast with you. So thank you so much for being our listeners. We love you so much. And here's to your why and we look forward to bringing it to life in the new year with you. Lots of love everybody.
Yay.
This is Joy, the Journey of You podcast. We're your hosts, Devin,
Chris,
and Felicia.
and we're here for joy.
this podcast is your permission slip to reconnect to your inherent joy and to embrace it.
Let's fill up the cosmic joy pot together as we dive into today's episode.
Okay, here we are. Here we go. First episode. Welcome to the Journey of You podcast. I'm Devin DeGrief, and this is
And Santa Pontine, Chris.
Hi, Chris. Yeah, so this is Chris and Devin. We're here as the Journey of You podcast, here for you human beings out in the world that need to hear this message. And our message today in our first episode and our first podcast is the theme of why. So, I mean, obviously, starting a podcast, you need to know why the heck did we start this thing? And so, really, our why is actually that all of us have a deep why inside of us. I have a deep why for I'm doing the things I'm doing, and specifically doing this podcast. You have your own deep why too, don't you, Chris?
I do.
Yeah. And when we know our why in anything that we're doing, right, in life, we're going to be tapped into our own joy. When we know our why, we know our joy, what brings us happiness and joy. And that's the essential ingredient for a thriving life is to be in our why, in our joy. And that's what allows us to thrive and really expand our lives in a joyous, happy way, right? And then conversely, when we don't have connection to our why, when we don't have connection to our own innate joy, and way of being, we're usually living in survival. We're usually living in that limited mindset and concept of what life is about. And so in either really either perspective of knowing our why, our world's going to open up. And that's going to be our guiding light. And when we don't know our why, our world's going to be really, really shrunk down and small because there's nothing guiding us, right? If we were to just be doing this podcast just for shits and giggles and not have any purpose behind it, it's not going to land you guys in the same way, I would imagine. But when we have our why, there's more oomph, there's more power, there's more life force, right? More behind us. So that's our whole theme for today is why. And so for our why is each of us, Chris and I have our each individual why, and then we had a why of like how we came together, why we came together. And then this podcast has a why. So we'd love to share that why with you as we start on this journey with you guys into the journey of you. So for me, my why is I would love for joy to be normalized on this planet. I would love for, right? Like I would love for more focus to be on joy, more focus to be on the light. There's so much focus on darkness and pain and torment right now. And as much as that is part of
Here.
our current reality and is real, right? Um, it's like if we focus on that, we're just going to see more of it, right? And I would just love for more people to be focusing on the good in the world and the good in life and the joy that's available to us, because it gives a totally different perspective. And what I see all the time in my life, in clients, in the world as a whole, is that when we've normalized pain, torment, and struggle, we see more pain, torment, and struggle. When we normalize joy, happiness, and light, and freedom, and connection, we experience more of that. And so I would just love more people to be experiencing more of that in general, but especially right now. So it's really interesting, the timing of when things come along, right? Like always divine timing. And you and I both know, Chris, and we'll share more as we get going, is because there was a reason why you and I got this really strong energy last year of this podcast coming in, and then once the end of the year and beginning of the year came in, it was just like full force, like go now, now's the time. So there's a big why for this podcast to come forward, and I'd love to share more with that. But I'd love, Chris, can you share with the folks what's your why?
Of course. And I do want to add for the general why, connecting to our why, also, like when we are connected to our why, we are energized by that. We receive the energy. Whereas when we're disconnected from that, when we do things that we don't have a clear why, and I do think that shits and giggles is a fantastic why, but I have lots of shits and giggles whys. But if we're not connected to our why, we feel like we have to push through. We have to push really hard to get something going, to move through, to finish things. Whereas when we are connected to our why, it just flows and things happen, and it's natural, and it's an evolution. And that's why I'm here. And my deep why is to give a cosmic permission slip for really guilt-free joy through this podcast, to allow people to feel joy, because I am a naturally joyful person, and I have been often made feel guilty in the past for feeling so joyful, as if that is something superficial, if I am toxically positive and spiritually bypassing. And it's super important for me to show that it's not about that. It's not about constantly being joyful, but it's about authentically feeling the whole piano keyboard of emotions, but then landing in joy, because that I feel is our natural frequency. That's where we are if we allow ourselves to be joyful. And with this podcast, I just want to create this cosmic pot of joy that people can tap into when they are not connected to their joy, and to let that just overflow and be something that you can come to.
Yeah. No, I love it. I know you and I both know what our whys are, but I love hearing it, because as you say that, like what really sparks in me is this authenticity. You and I have talked about a lot, is the authenticity of all spectrums. I love that, the keyboard. Like there's so many notes of life, right? There are so many emotions. And if joy isn't in that spectrum, isn't in that continuum, we're losing such a big facet of life. But it's got to be authentic, right? And I know you and I are going to talk a ton about authenticity, because that's what I'm seeing as like the why of the podcast, is to like talk about things in an authentic way, talk about emotions, but authenticity of joy. Because there is such, like, I love that you even brought up the spiritual bypassing thing, because there is, with the whole positive psychology phenomenon, and with people focusing on spirituality, you can start to get more of a bias towards just trying to put like a positivity blanket on everything and being like, no, it's fine, it's fine. And I think people are probably fed up with that too right now, right? There's an age where we were all kind of doing it, and and because sometimes when things are dark, it's just like, what better to do is just like think positive, right? But you and I've talked about this, but the truth really is that on our way to landing in joy, you know how you had said landing in joy, that's ultimately like what we would all love, but what our true nature is, you were saying that, like, our true nature is actually joy. Our true innate way of being is joy. When we came on this planet, we were a joyful, loving baby that just, smiled and giggled at everything, right?
And didn't know any better, except when it was hungry.
Right? And so it's just getting us back to that state, but in an authentic way. So I love that you even brought that in, because That's what I really remember about our first conversation about this podcast. Um, yeah, yeah, you guys, we were in, so I met Chris this last year for the first time ever in person in Germany.
And
Yeah, yes.
before that, you actually just contacted me. I think it was like 4 or maybe 6 weeks before
Yeah,
we met. You
not even like
asked,
a month. Yeah.
yes, you asked, would you illustrate my book? And I was like, so I'm not an illustrator, actually. I don't identify as an illustrator. I was just taking notes on a course we were on together, and I just shared my visual notes. And yeah, Devin was looking for somebody to make her visual notes in her book with
Yeah.
extras. So that's how we contacted. And I crapped my pants and then I said, yes, as you do. And then she said, oh, and look, I'm in, where were you? Romania?
I was in Croatia at the time, actually.
Croatia. Yes,
Yeah.
Croatia. I'm in Croatia and giving holding a retreat, and I could pass by Germany while I'm here. Did you have time? I was like, oh my God.
I know. I didn't expect it at all. Yeah. We would just like talk to, I think somewhere in that 4 to 6 week range. Yeah. And then I was over there. I was like, I'm way too close to you not to go meet you. And because we were looking at you doing illustrations for my book, Good Grief, The Journey from Grief to Joy, which is a focus on joy. And oh my gosh, how much joy we shared in our first connection. It's like we had known each other for ages.
For several lifetimes,
I know,
obviously.
right? Seriously. And then when we tuned into the book, as we were just hanging out that weekend out in nature in the gorgeous country of Germany, it came through for us to do a podcast.
Mhm.
And we were just like, what?
And then interestingly, now that the book is pretty much finished or like at the
Yep.
finish line, it was like that the podcast had a little like an energetic slumber, I want to say. It went
Mm,
into hibernation mode and we're like, is that active? No, no, no. But then over the during New Year, like that episode, I suddenly got like, yes, like it's meant to go now.
yeah.
Like we should look into this now. And the energy was back and it was like very obvious divine timing. So here we are today.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, so we originally had that why we hung on to it. We didn't know when it was going to happen. We were just following the call and just a few weeks ago it was like really pushing us strong and so here we are today recording our first episode, you know. Yeah. And so Journey of You Joy podcast is here. It's alive. Today's the day. It's being born. It's coming to life. And as you can see, love it. Here's the celebration, the birth of joy, the birth of a Journey of You podcast, and it has a really strong why, right? Like this podcast in our hearts to form this podcast and to create this entity for the world to really tap into that cosmic pot of joy and to be oriented to this. And so, as we share that why with you guys, we invite you to find out your why. So, what's your why? What's your why for whatever you're doing in your life? Just take a moment as you're with yourself, whether you're driving, whether you're listening, wherever you are, just take a moment and what comes to you right now as to at least a notion of your why.
And it can be something really small that you integrate your why in your life, or it can be something big, like it can be your work, it can be your job, it can be your family, it can be whatever, where you integrate your why. But it can also be like, for example, something that you consider to be something more trivial, like painting or doing artwork, or something that my ego likes to put to the side as unimportant, but really I live a large part of my why through drawing and through painting. So that is and has obviously become an even more important part of my life. And yeah, don't make it, don't belittle it, is what I
Yeah.
wanted to say.
Yeah, no, really. And it speaks to just like it's your why. It's nobody else's
Mhm,
why, right? If your why is
mhm,
because you love it, then
mhm.
say that's why.
Shits and giggles.
Shits and giggles. There you go. Yeah, you can do things for simply the love of it, but if you aren't conscious to your why, then you're usually probably just living in that survival mode. You're just reacting and you're just going with the flow. But if we can really hone in on our why, then that's really the guiding light, the guiding force for anything that we're doing. And so we invite you to inquire in your why. And if you really want to take this a step further, is to go into journaling. You know, just sit down, like schedule 5 to 10 minutes with yourself and really drop in and inquire within. Close your eyes, drop into your heart, and really ask yourself, so what is my why? What's my why for my life right now? Or what's my why for my business? Or wherever you're at in your journey that your focus is on, is I invite you to take the time to sit with that and then concretize it and journal it so that it's not just, when we just are in our head and thinking about the why, we're not like claiming it. We're not stating that why, right? What comes to me about that is like if you and I were just here, like thinking about a podcast, right? If we were just like, oh yeah, that'd be a cool idea, and I have a reason why, and it sounds really good. But if we were just like in fairy tale land about the why, but never like got down of like, why do we need to do this? We never would have probably actually followed through and done it,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I said, if you're not really aware of it, if you're not tuned into it, you are not connected to the energetics of that why, and you don't receive that push that takes you to take the action, even if you are nervous and anxious and would rather not. I have a bad hair day today. Can't do that today.
Yeah, it gives more depth to it,
It
yeah.
makes it easier, makes
Yeah.
everything easier.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, let's just call a spade a spade. Like you and we're scared to do this. We were nervous to do our first podcast, right? But
Mhm.
but that deeper
We were
why is what kept us.
We were trying to chicken out.
Yeah, and if we weren't connected to that deeper why, we could have let that have the power. But because we were connected into our deeper why and really listening to that place within us that has the deep why, right? There's a deeper place within us that has that deep why. And so that's why I invite you guys to journal, to really like drop in, because if you stay on that surface level of your why, I'm not saying it'll be good, but if you can really drop in deep and get deeper and get a little bit more intimate with your why, it's going to have a little more juice, a little more oomph, a little more life energy behind it. I love that you brought that in. It says there's an energy behind it. And if you can tap into that energy, that's an energy source to be using.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we really invite you guys to find your why, inquire, contemplate about your why, and then live it, right? And just
Take the
notice,
action.
yeah, take the action, and just notice where you're living your why, where you're not living your why. And then as we go further into our podcast, we really hold the vision and end result of all of you coming to that why, and all of you being really clear on who you are and what the truth of you is. And so we really invite you to onto this journey with us. We have the intention of our episodes not being super duper long, so they're digestible, they're able to really come in, but we're going to be in the flow of what each episode brings us. And if anybody at any point you have any suggestions or requests or questions, send them in to us. But we're here really in service to you, your heart, your truth, and your joy coming to life. And to start off in today's episode, we invite you to really drop in deeper to what's your why.
Beautiful. I do want to add one little thing.
Go for it.
That goes beyond the why is
Mm.
the structure of this podcast. So
Yeah.
you as a listener know what to expect. And we decided to go with the flow and to not have a fixed date for the podcast to be released, but for it to be a surprise, and it will come as it comes. And when we feel the energy, we will record. When we feel this needs to be done, like today's episode, it will be done and it will be released, and you will receive it in divine timing.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because you will likely find our episodes in general, because we're going to be in tune of things, it'll be really aligned with where you're at in your life right now. And because we're doing it from a place of alignment, not from a heady place.
Yes.
And that's the big beautiful piece of coming back to the why is that if that's our focus, then the way things will play out will be in service to that. And so I'm excited to see what comes, see who joins, and see this really spark and come to life.
And unfold.
Right?
I'm really super, super curious to see.
Me too. And I'm super freaking excited to be doing it with you, Chris. As we said, we have such a kismet, ornate, organic connection. And every time we get together, more and more
It's
joy.
just fun.
Oh my gosh, more and more joy is to be had. So yeah, as we get through this first one and we get through our nerves a little bit, and we just stay in that authenticity of as to why we're here. Yeah, I just want to end today's episode with gratitude for you, Chris, and gratitude for all of our new listeners and whoever explores this and finds this to begin with, because you're coming in on the ground level, baby. You're coming in on the ground level, and we're really building this foundation of joy and love. So here's to more of that on the planet. Here's to more of that on the planet. Until next time, folks. We'll see you in